His first step is not as quick as it used to be. Defensively, I think on ball, even though he's gotten better, off ball, I think he's actually regressed.
Well, I
And then,
mean, that's been happening since
Wait,
like
no, 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 no,
2017,
no, no,
though.
no, no.
and
Hold on,
and,
hold on.
and, it's,
Wait,
and
wait,
it's
wait,
hold up,
wait,
hold
wait,
up,
wait,
hold up,
wait, 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 wait.
hold
You
up.
said
Let me
you
finish.
said his
Let me finish. Let me finish.
standards
Let me
went
finish.
down,
Let me
but
finish. Let me finish.
Let him finish.
Then
I got you.
his shooting. There's times where, at least in the regular season, Curry was missing like open threes. I don't even know what that was
I mean,
about.
even in the playoffs, what did he shoot? Like 39% from three.
Yeah, no, he actually shot better. That's what's
He
crazy is
shot
he
better in
shot
the
better from
playoffs.
He
three.
rose in the playoffs. I think the
He shot
open
And
three stuff, the open three stuff is a hard one to indicate because like you either think that he's so fatigued that he's missing open threes, or you think that like it was just a weird shooting year for him.
Or he was
And I
injured.
think
That nigga
that
had
Didn't
50,
tell
like
anybody about
So
it.
let me
55
ask
plus
this: if he
on
shoots,
contested threes,
let's say he
he's
shoots
fine.
42% from three next year, is that would the declines like? Is this just an
no, but
anomaly?
it's not even just that. Like I genuinely think
Yes.
Curry could average 20 in this system.
Didn't he get to the rim less?
Like yeah,
he
no, he
did.
finished worse at the rim too. He finished worse at the rim.
Finishing worse.
Yeah,
Finishing
no, a
worse.
lot
I
of
don't know
guards
if
were
that was
It's
finishing
not
at
the
the rim this
finishing.
year.
He had the hand injury, but in the playoffs he only had 6% of his field goals. Okay. The reason,
Yeah,
I'll
but
admit that is
Boston,
weird
the
though
Boston
because
series is
does
screwing that up.
no, I know,
Wait,
but also
Eli, really quickly, Eli. Let me ask. Can I just?
doesn't Oracle's rim tracking, like, isn't it weird? Like, don't they have like something to where like a lot of their baskets that are within 0 to 3 feet don't get tracked? Because
Yeah.
I saw some. Okay, so I won't mention that for the sake of.
It's
That's
hard to
fair.
say,
That's
but I
fair.
think
That's
it's
fair.
fair to say that it's completely fair to say that the quality of his looks at the rim have steadily gotten worse post like 2017, right? I think the actual finishing though, that like you have to acknowledge the hand. I definitely think the hand injury affected him this year.
What are you saying though, Dre?
Wait, which hand injury? The one from
That nigga
He
just
had a
played
wrist
well the year
injury.
before. What are we
But like
doing?
I was saying though,
All
his
I want
handling,
I
his
do pray that
handling
Curry
is
does.
better
Wait,
than his other
TRB.
Curry is
things.
What
good.
hand in like a finger thing he had?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought it was a wrist thing, but I know he had a finger issue with his thumb, right?
Oh, that. Okay.
Wait, Eli. When you say at an MVP level, when we talk about 37, is that what's the criteria for that? Is that like 25 points per game and then like certain efficiency
But it's
or?
not
He
really.
didn't average 25 points in 20.
It's not really a. It's not really a
It's just the
criteria.
caliber of player
It's
you
more
are.
so. Yeah, what level? What level are you playing at? And this is about like this year is a, especially in the playoffs. It's an MVP year, right? This is like This is probably the standard for how he would have to play until he was 38 in my mind to be top four, right?
Like this
And if he
the
does
regular
that, then
season?
This season would have
huh?
to be like the worst
regular season
possible
No,
year.
playoffs.
I
Even
think it
if
needs to. I think some of the production needs to carry over to the postseason as
Yeah,
well.
it has to be. It's a combination of both.
Well, yeah,
Especially,
he has to be. He has to be
it,
playoff resilient, or at least
yeah.
close to it.
Especially when you're trying to climb where we are right now. It's just, and then which kind of sucks for Curry, but I mean, it's just the truth. Like when you're comparing him to other all-time great players, he just doesn't have the years backing him. Because basically everybody else we're comparing him to, even to like a lower degree, even like to other players who are top 7 to 8, outside of really Magic and Bird, all of them have like 10 plus years of just like at worst all NBA caliber play, but most of them have like 8 9 plus years of MVP caliber
even
play.
those guys do though.
I will say. I mean,
They
the thing
came
with
out
all of
the
them
they
is
came
that
out the gate.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and then some of
Bird
them
came
came
out
out
the
the gate.
gate MVP.
Curry
Yeah,
had years
yeah,
to start his career
Yeah.
where he was
Okay.
either injured or just wasn't at that level yet.
Yeah.
yeah. That's the fucked up part about Curry.
I think
But
he.
you know,
I think if Curry wasn't injured in some of those years, and he didn't get injured in
He
20,
probably
and he
adds like
played
another
20.
year or two.
He played. Yeah, the conversation probably starts to get different because
Hmm.
he probably would have had the 3-point record before this year, and he would be adding to that. He probably would have had like he would be higher on the scoring list like all time.
I
Yeah,
would say.
I don't really care
different.
about that. Reggie
I
Miller is
would
Different.
up
say.
there. I
I
don't
do
care.
think
I
that
know.
like
I'm just saying different indicators of like
Yeah,
longevity would be
Reggie
there.
Miller's up there. I don't really
four
care.
I
MVP
don't think
four
he
MVP
has
years is definitely like gonna be really really
ratio.
tough. But two more MVP years, I feel like I have faith Curry can get two more MVP quality years.
Oh, two more. Yeah, two. I don't think that Curry. I agree with that. But
We're not counting 2017-18 as MVP years.
I think the thing with
Yes.
Curry, bro. I think Curry, yeah, that counts. But Curry, I think in the future, him
It
and
was a down year though.
him and Clay in this system, even when he fades out of the MVP years, I think that nigga, like if JJ Redick can average 17 in some of his think Steph Curry can easily average 20 points a game, even
with
if like
24.
honestly with like
No,
the
he's
way
just saying
that
at least 20.
at least
I remember like two
like
years
the
ago
five
there was
years,
oh
five
sorry
6 years.
2 years ago there was a quote. I think it was Bill Simmons who said something about like him thinking KD would never stop being an all-star level player just because of shot making ability. And I feel like this year for me, and I think with Curry to some extent, it's the same where it's like the dude, they're gonna stick around in the league as long as they want purely because they're just that good at shot making. Like with KD, it's like this season we kind of saw like the quality of look. Like the dude doesn't really need to get to the rim that
It
much to
doesn't
actually
matter.
be an
Yeah.
insanely
And
good
mind you,
scorer.
teams are still gonna defend them like crazy. Like they're still gonna
And
give
like with
that,
Curry, right?
that credit.
Him being a great shooter in the way he is, like as years like come off where he doesn't have to like carry as much offensive load, he's gonna stay really good for a long time. Like, well, MVP level
Yeah,
is obviously really hard.
that's
He'll
how
stick
you
around.
master longevity though,
Hmm.
right? Like you find your niche, you find what you do better than anyone else that doesn't involve athleticism. For obviously for LeBron, that's what he does as a playmaker, what he does as a passer. For CP3 the same and what he does as a mid-range shooter. And I think we understand for Curry, like as he gets older, his passing develops, he becomes more of like I don't want to say a pure point guard. I think this is his most pure point guard year, I
Best
guess you
on
could
ball
say. Like
playmaking season, but I
Yeah,
think
which
some
is
would
why
believe.
I'm
yeah.
confused when almost says his handling is regressed. But that's besides the point.
It has, bro. His handle's not as it's not as clean as it used to be. It's still
But like
good, but it's
as
not.
as
I
much as you
don't.
might think the handles regressed, his actual playmaking on the ball this year was really
Oh, of course,
fantastic.
I give
It was
him his
fantastic.
playmaking, but I think his handle go watch 2016, hell even
Oh,
2017
I
when
know
he
he
like
lost. I don't think that's handle though. I think that's like shiftiness that he lost with.
The
He
eight,
lost some
the
quickness.
added weight probably accounts for
and
It's
some of
weight
half
that.
and
his
age.
his
Like
his first step too is it's just not the same. The burst is just not there the way
I
it
don't
used to.
think his handle is actually that much worse. I just think that he isn't as fast as he used to be, which is fine. Like
I
he
don't. I
he
don't.
can still do a lot of the things he used to be able to do. It's just not
Well,
as if, and he had to improve in other things, right? Like I
oh shit! I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh
Go
yeah,
ahead.
no,
Yeah,
that's
no
fine.
problem.
I think he's become like a better shot maker in some areas, right? Like he's the defense I do think has improved a little bit. Like I know the off-ball defense has kind of deteriorated a little, and obviously the on-ball playmaking's gotten better. So
So Dre, I don't explain to me why y'all are viewed so toxic. Because I don't. I just don't see it, bro. Like I don't understand why so many people hate y'all, man. I don't get it.
Because niggas like Urkel,
They
bro, those
hate
lame ass
success.
niggas.
Fuck Urkel, do to you? Steal your bitch?
Trust me, that nigga is not even close to my realm as far as taking bitches, bro.
All right,
Not
you
even
on
This
this
is
close.
now.
the most
You,
cringiest
you,
conversation I've ever heard.
you,
Hey,
you, you
the
on this.
nigga brought it up. I'm not gonna let that nigga just sit there and say Urkel stole of
This is
all
a cringe.
people.
This is a
Urkel
No,
stole
cringe.
I'm just saying because I don't know
Imagine
how
getting
much
your bitch
Urkel
taken by
affects
a
your
nigga named Urkel, bro.
daily life, bro.
Couldn't be
I don't
me.
know.
So Dre,
Yeah.
you had to explain to me because I don't. Every single time I see y'all on the timeline, I dead ass like not every time. I mean, not say every time, but like 70 to 80% of the time, be like, oh no, I agree with what they saying, and niggas just be like saying y'all niggas is fucking crazy because I'm about to upload a video and like I'm about to like a lot of shit y'all saying. I'm about to say. I'm actually about to say even crazier shit actually because I'm definitely about to say KD got replaced by Andrew Wiggins. So
Wow.
Cook.
I don't know. I mean, I noticed a lot of the same people who were taking victory laps when we were down in the series. Uh, that were like, "Oh, the Warriors need KD." They were updating that
Mm.
finals record, and then all of a sudden we're like, "KD who?" Like we got obviously Wiggins did replace a lot of what KD did, not just offensively but as a defensive point of attack guy. His value was there. We had Jordan Poole. It was organic, obviously, the process of investing and buying into a system of not like homegrown drafted players, taking them under their wing. Clay's return, and we're just taking victory laps. People don't like it, but we were. I mean, me, Urkel, Shadow, all of us were saying this shit last summer, like a year ago today, or a year ago within the range of whatever the date is. Like we were saying, we're gonna win. We understood what it looked like last year, what it looked like in 2019. You got to put dudes around Steph. Obviously health is of the utmost importance, but like in the end, we that belief in what Steph is able to create, not only for himself but for others, how defenses are bent. and shifted the way they are, and as long as you have competent like talent around him, that we would be in contention. And I don't know, maybe we're just taking too many victory laps for their liking. I don't think it's crazy to say Steph is top 7 all time. I don't think it's even crazy to say that you. I think you can make an argument he's top 5. Some people think that's crazy.
Okay, there it is. There's
Let's
that
see.
crazy
Yeah,
And the
shit.
there
thing
we
is,
go.
people
Yes, yeah.
counted us out. Like
There it
we
is.
back.
No, yeah.
There that
I was,
crazy
no, yeah.
shit.
I was gonna say,
There it is.
I don't even think people are mad at y'all for taking a victory lap. I just think some of y'all just objectively have really bad takes. Like the nigga Jim Parks has very, very bad takes.
Jim Park don't know ball though.
Fair,
Can
but
I
I don't
just
even,
say? Can I
see.
just
I
say
don't know
from the
who that
perspective
is.
of
See, y'all are saying things I have no idea
from
who
the
that is.
perspective
He's
of a
some Warriors
Warriors
beater.
fan, and I know like I personally will be the first to admit like I was nowhere near as optimistic on the team this year as people like Dre, Shadow, and Urkel were, right? But at the same time, like I can understand some fan bases feeling like it's annoying in some ways, but at the same time, like how much of what Warriors fans are doing this offseason is something that every fan base that wins a championship does, right? Like Warriors fans have a reputation, obviously, because they've, the Warriors have won a lot. So they have this kind of negative stigma built up. But I don't really think like anything is like flagrant, right? Like some of the stuff, like the all-time like people coming out the very day after like the Warriors won and talking about like LeBron versus Steph. That personally, I didn't care for, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
Dre.
thought that
Yeah, Dre. Didn't nobody didn't care for that shit, Dre.
I didn't care for, but like at the same time, LeBron fans were doing that after the Lakers won a title. I know we don't talk about Bucks fans because nobody knows if they exist, but Bucks fans were definitely doing some crazy all-time stuff, saying like Giannis is better than KG all time right
We do
after the
remember that.
Bucks
I
won,
think that's fair. I think that's fair.
right? No, no, whether it's fair or not, it's not the issue. It's just that like every fan base gets kind of crazy and probably overrates their players after a title run, and that's fine because it's just a thing you do when you're happy for your team, and I don't know
But we
why.
also we also got to put into perspective what was being said 2 years, not even 2 years, the post 2019 finals up until now. You got to put that into perspective. And as a
Not
fan
even that
looking
shit. Before the season began.
Hmm.
exactly all
During the
that
season,
shit, all that
during the
shit
playoffs, crazy stuff.
during the playoffs, during the regs in
I
2020,
was about to
niggas
say
was talking
during
about
when
niggas was
in the finals when they were up 2-1. That's why I don't. That's why I don't think it's that. That's why I personally don't think what y'all saying is crazy.
you
seventy
niggas
percent,
are going to have to face y'all sins, bro. You
seventy
niggas
percent.
will have to face your sins in
This
every
nigga's
narrative that
At
talking
y'all push.
biblical text
at
right now.
point, it would probably be nice to stop like the whole like we're just gonna attack other teams and like and all that stuff. But like it's been what 3, 4 days since they won.
This ain't even the
Like,
start.
come on now.
This
and
ain't
that
even the start, bro.
It's
and I
always
think
You
that
something.
you this ain't the start, y'all. I'm just gonna keep it a buck with
I
y'all.
think that's fair, but I just think like for some of y'all who think y'all know ball, or if y'all do know ball, regardless of the fact, y'all can't listen to some of these takes and just say some of these are not just a little egregious. And a part of it, I see a lot of y'all just retweet the same egregious takes
That's
that
why
y'all.
that's why I don't listen to some of these takes. Like
I mean, so I see what everyone I see what people saying. And again, I think it's egregious. But I guess I'm just a fucking Warrior fan, man. Put me on a fucking slap. I'm gonna get a I'm gonna edit my fucking PFP and put a fucking Warrior tattoo on my cheek, nigga. Make me a Warrior fan, then,
You're
bro. Cause
trolling.
I don't like, nigga. I don't understand why it's egregious for the niggas to say what they're saying, but niggas were claiming that like how is it possible that you can just write off an entire dynasty like that? That to me is crazier. That is crazier. It is crazier to claim that you believe that there's no chance that the Warriors are ever going to win a championship, knowing for a fact that they were by like leaps and bounds by far the most successful franchise in the NBA. And even before Kevin Durant, that 2 to 3 year window leading up to the KD signing, they were leaps and bounds better than everyone else in the NBA. Why? I don't understand why.
It's
And
because
if the argument was that because they only won a championship because of fucking because Clay Thompson, I mean Kyrie and Love were hurt. Again, I'm saying this in my video, so I don't want to give it too much away because I'm about to upload it. Nigga, even that's still a very bad argument. It lacks a lot of logic because for several reasons, But nigga, it was all was needed was health and an upgrade for Harrison Barnes, which they got this year, and it's a completely it's a different result. So the arguments that people were making were just straight fucking dumb. It made no sense. And what's crazy is I never thought that we would have gotten to this point where Kevin Durant was getting praise because he was putting up great numbers against one of the worst ranked defenses in the NBA in the finals with all time great floor spacing. And then we get to the point where it flipped from KD needs the Warriors to the Warriors needed KD. Like that to me never made any sense. And I'm sorry, that is more egregious than claiming that LeBron or Curry and LeBron are in the same conversation. To me, it is more egregious to say that the greatest dynasty that you probably ever laid eyes on will never win a championship again than saying that Curry and LeBron are in the same stratosphere. They're both dumb arguments, but I just think that that's worse. And that's what niggas were saying for like 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah, so what you just mapped out, it's not even so much, and I know like people are gonna say, "Oh, you're a Steph this, Steph that," but it boils down to it's not that they didn't believe in Kerr or Clay or they just didn't believe in Steph. The last 3 years, like I created this account because I knew that like the same night that the Warriors lost against the Raptors, I was like, "Oh shit, like." This is gonna be interesting. Now let's see if Steph is able to
Good
pull
John Wall opted in. I'm
because
sorry. Go ahead.
the narratives for the next season and the season after that, they were piling on and on. People thought that they'd never be where they were. You had people on TV, and then you had actual people on these platforms who were like, yeah, just Steph is not that guy. Like he can't lead a team to the promised land. And all I had to see was the talent that you put around him last year for me to be like, okay, you got a year of Andrew Wiggins under his belt. You got a couple. You added a few vets in free agency. You got Clay returning, a couple of pieces in the draft, and lo and behold, they didn't even have a perfect season either. Like a lot of injuries. Draymond had a back injury. People forget. Clay didn't return until January. We had rookies and dead weight on the roster. We didn't have a perfect season. The core three of that dynasty played only 11 minutes. Steph didn't return until the first round of the playoffs.
Then he
So
came off the bench.
And he came off the.
I
came
think
off the
niggas didn't believe in Bob Myers. I don't think they believed that the Warriors
I mean,
could put together another championship level team
I
after
think
losing so many
It's
championship
both
years.
though.
I
This
think
is
every
both though.
part of this
It's
team
both.
was doubted, right? Like, and I would admit there's parts of the Warrior fandom that doubted different parts of the team. Like me personally, I did not expect Andrew Wiggins would become this like the best
most
rebounder
people didn't.
for
Almost
his
Forty
position.
percent from three after being
Yeah,
a
no, like
midnight shooter his
nobody,
whole
No,
career.
40% for
that's
three is
crazy,
crazy.
right? But
No, it's not.
at the same time, people doubted Bob Myers to create a good roster and like know what he was doing. People doubted that Steph Curry was still one of, if not the best basketball player in the world and an all-time great. People doubted that. People doubted Steve Kerr to have a great coaching, like a great playoffs, and he coached a great playoffs. People like throughout the entire roster, I feel like one of the coolest parts of this run, I think I tweeted out earlier, is just how improbable it was for me. It was like all these guys, like there's no way all of this should be able to come together, but sometimes you have a special team that can
that's what
actually make this stuff come together.
Steve Kerr said that after the finals. But I agree with that. I think Draymond was doubted. Remember in 2020 they were calling him Mr. Triple Single. They thought Clay wasn't going to look the same after his injuries, which obviously he's not his exact former self, but he's very close to it. He's getting his legs underneath him, and you're usually better in that second year post Achilles than you are after your first. But in the end, like it comes down to Steph. If you think Steph was that dude, I don't think you would have doubted the Warriors. If you think Steph was one of those dudes that could carry a team to the promised land and he was viewed in that light, like that's part of what winning this title did for him is the people that didn't think he was one of the guys of like a LeBron, KD, you could say Giannis or Kawhi status, like he stamped himself. Now, not for me, obviously. I knew he was this dude years and years and years ago, but some people needed certain validation based on how the playoffs went, based on
Call Finals
his
MVP. Call.
based on the Finals MVP, various performance checkpoints and indicators and benchmarks, and that's just people. That's how they evaluated him. And I don't think they thought he was that guy post 2019 because I don't think they thought he was that guy after they lost against Cleveland. I think there was a narrative that, you know, obviously like there was a suspension, there were injuries, and the Cavs came back from 3-1. Then the thing was like, okay, they lost, they added KD, they won, therefore they needed KD. But in reality, like I don't think they ever needed KD. I think they easily could have ran it back, been in contention the next few years, possibly reeled off another title or two, health permitted. Like the only thing that ever stopped the
They could
Warriors,
have used that money on role players too.
I mean,
the only
I thought the pervasive rumor was that Paul George was considering coming to the Warriors.
I
And
never.
even then, we would win a championship with that nigga. So
When was that? When was that? Was that 20?
I thought it was
I think
2016
it was
where
20.
Oh
there were
yeah,
Paul
yeah, yeah,
George
yeah.
rumors.
That was a
Like
thing.
because they had the cap space for Paul George as well. But like they got KD instead, which obviously is the better option.
But also, I can't remember what somebody was saying. I just think that I don't really have a problem with doubts and reservations. Like trying to expect someone to predict the future is crazy, and no team is perfect. So I like the reservations or your doubts or hesitations can be justified. It was just like the overall like this team will never ever ever like that. When you get to that level of like logic, to me that's just ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense that a team that features a top 5 or 7, however, even on the worst list imaginable, a top 7 player in Curry, one of the best defenders in the league in Draymond, a well coached team and a well ran organization, to think that they will never ever ever win a championship again is just like it's ridiculous. And nobody was ever saying that about the Spurs when they took a year or two off in between championships. Nobody was saying that about the Bird or Magic, Lakers and Celtics in the 80s when they took years off between championships. Nobody was saying that about like any other dynasty when they took the years off. And to not even like give the team the opportunity to rebuild, to me is crazy. And it's just, I don't know, to me it was just crazier. I just think it's still crazier to just say that the team that was forward thinking enough to spearhead a revolutionary style of basketball now all of a sudden is poorly ran. Like that's like that just doesn't happen. You can't go from one extreme to another extreme because of a questionable trade. And again, I can understand why the Wiggins trade was questionable. I was definitely had my hesitations. But like Dre said, like after you saw last year, not the year we just watched, the 2021 season, like that's the reason why even before the year I was like, right now, like they're going to be a title contending team. Like because that's just like if you just look at who they have as pieces, it just makes sense. Like that just if you believe they're going to win, maybe I wouldn't go that far. But to say that like they'll never win again, they'll never reach the finals, they'll never like that shit is just crazy to me. And I just don't think that anybody's ever said that against with any other dynasty. And I think that people don't understand because they're living in it. But that's on par with this Warriors team is doing, and that's why it's crazy.
I don't think comparing them to other, historic dynasties works in the sense that like when the Warriors were on, yeah, they were on the level of other dynasties, but their like fall off period was drastic. Like and sure that was because of injuries,
I'm about to say
but
because of
also
injuries.
yeah, but regardless, like we've never seen like the Showtime Lakers have a 15-win season. Like the Spurs, they
Well, I
always
mean,
won
how many
15
times did
games.
their
Because
stars
they,
get
The
they
injured?
never
Spurs
got
didn't make the
injured.
finals
They
for
Right.
never got
7
injured.
years.
But it's not about making a finals. They were still winning 50 games every
I know,
season.
but they
So
didn't
they
get
so they still
injured
looked like
though.
a competent team.
Well,
But
you
but
know
I'm
Yeah,
what?
saying
Can
but
I
I'm
just say
saying
with
when
oh,
you see it when you see a team win 15 games, right? It makes you think right or wrong that they don't have the pieces that it takes. And at that time they didn't, right? If you would have just had a healthy Steph, Clay, and Draymond on that team where like 2020 or whatever, they're not winning a chip. They won it because of the Wiggins trade and then the
yeah,
subsequent
but they might
moves
win
What
50
about the
and
games.
Lakers
roster things
in
that
the
they
Win 50
made.
2000s
games.
Lakers? They
The,
literally
the
missed the playoffs
people
and had losing
definitely said the
seasons.
Lakers were never going to win a chip again. People absolutely said that. People did not believe in Kobe. They didn't. They certainly didn't believe in the role players. It was Kwame
but I
Brown
wouldn't.
and
I
Sandra
wouldn't.
Brown
Yeah,
Them type niggas.
I wouldn't even
But
consider that
the
a dynasty anyway. But I understand what you're saying. But like, okay, so then, and I'm not saying that you're saying this, but again, it's like the people who are saying that are dumb because if you're saying that you have the full capacity to understand how injuries are going to impact the outcome of a team's season, such as in the 2015 finals when all you hear about is Kevin Love and Kyrie not playing. So injuries matter then, but then when the Warriors go 15 wins, injuries don't fucking matter no more. So
I,
like that's why it's just fucking that's why that line of thinking is dumb. And
I
even what's crazy, and I'm this last point. Even if you were to like count those 2 years, like the years where they didn't make the playoffs, their win percentage is still on par with other all-time great dynasties in an 8-year span.
They won that much
Yeah,
during
like it's
the
their win
decade.
Mhm.
percentage is near 70%. That is on par with several other all-time great
And
runs throughout NBA history.
what I'd add is like not only is the winning great, right? Because you earlier said, when they were on, they were just as good as everyone as other dynasties. I disagree. When the Warriors were on, like 2017, that's the best basketball that was ever played. Any team in the history of the sport. Same with 2018. You could argue 2019, right? Up until KD gets injured. It's not just that they had the championships in the years. They were that great of a team to which if you want to say, hey, they had a down year, we shouldn't count that. Fine, but I would counter like, hey, well, 2017's a better season than anybody else. Right? That's the best basketball team to ever play.
And what's crazy
So
is
I agree.
if you don't count the down years, that the 6 year span where relatively everyone is healthy because again, like Dre said, both Draymond and Klay Thompson basically missed half the season this year. If you still just use those 6 seasons where Curry, at least Curry's healthy, right, and Curry, or at least Curry, Klay, and Dre are playing some form of minutes. If you just count those 6 years, literally, and I do mean literally, there's only two other teams that have competent levels of winning, and that is I guess three: the Bulls, the Spurs, and the Celtics. That is it in terms of just like relative in terms of like what I'm trying to say. The amount of wins that they were able to accumulate, the winning percentages, all that shit. Like it's only two or three teams. Even the Celtics, I'm dragging it because they didn't win a championship in all those years. But it's only two to three teams in NBA history, and that's me like counting the six best years of the Spurs. So I'm miscellaneously picking the six best years. I can pick early 2000s, late mid 2010s, and even as I accumulate any random 6 years, the best not random, the best 6 years of the Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker run, the best 6 years are still only like 0.1% higher than the 6 year stretch we just saw from Draymond, Clay, and Curry. So like when people are sitting here like definitively saying they'll never win again, that logic is so flawed. Like how could you come to something that definitive, especially when the players around him are not only improving, but like you just didn't watch the 2015 finals because you're blatantly lying to yourself if you didn't believe that an upgrade from Harrison Barnes is really all they fucking needed in the first place. So that's my I don't know. I just think that yeah, some of the shit y'all may have said in this room is pretty crazy. I still think that the shit that niggas are saying for the past 2 or 3 years is even worse because nobody was ever saying that about any other all time great dynasty. Like never, I never heard that before.
It's biased, low. Like a lot of these niggas just don't like Steph. They think he ain't him. You know what I'm saying? And like they're just trying to take away from what he's done. Like niggas saying he needed a Finals MVP to solidify his legacy. And like I understand, like if you value accolades, that's fair. But like even if he didn't win this championship, like Steph's legacy would still be what a top 15 player of all time. Who cares? Like regardless, it is what it is. Um, but man, like it's just the hate. Like it's usually people that just don't like Curry. They don't like the Warriors dynasty. Not trying to say all LeBron fans here, but a lot of them are LeBron fans. You know, and mind you, like I'm not sitting there saying the outrageous stuff I hear about Curry, and like the Warriors or anything, but like it was very obvious to me. Like people were literally picking them to lose against Memphis. People were picking them to lose against against the Mavericks. People were picking them to lose against the Celtics, like every round. And then like there
For
was a
what it's worth, there were a few ESPN writers who picked the Nuggets.
yeah, yeah. Hey, you know what's crazy? Even on my pod, you know what's wild? Even on my pod, I have a podcast with two Thunder fans, one Cavs fan. First round, the Thunder fans they picked the Nuggets. Next round, they all picked the Grizzlies. Next round, they all picked the Mavs. Finals, they all picked the Celtics. These niggas picked against the Warriors
Can I
every.
ask quickly, why did they? Do you know if you could recall what was their reasoning for picking the Nuggets?
Oh, they just said the Jokic matchup, like he's just gonna torch them.
Oh,
Okay.
I was gonna
More
say,
mentally
I think the like narrative going into this playoffs that I actually really enjoyed on one of the podcasts I did, like I documented how this kind of shaped through the season, but the Warriors have no bigs narrative, which kind of progressed through the season. I feel like them people like thinking Jokic was gonna like just single handedly carry the Warriors had to be influenced by that. But I mean, for what it's worth, Jokic did
Bro,
torch
we
the
faced
Warriors. But
outside the
I'm about to
Mavericks.
say,
Yeah, outside the Mavericks, like we faced every possible big team. I mean, Jokic. I know in terms of just like Jokic as a
apart from
Mavs player.
Giannis, like
Apart from
apart
Giannis,
from him, they played
because
every major big.
but like
Embiid.
think about we faced the Grizzlies, bro. There's no team more athletic that's bigger and the rebounding. Like they
All
led
right,
the league in
all right,
rebounding.
Mhm.
Bino. I'm sorry, bro. You did not pick against them every round. You picked the Mavs to beat them, though. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dre. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, like that Memphis team is like physical. They're bigger. They're faster. They're athletic. They led the league in rebounding, and we actually out rebounded them. I think in every game except one,
Mhm.
and we out rebounded them
What game
70
that
to
was?
44. 70 to 44 in game 6. And then that Mavs series we dominated them on the boards, and then against the Celtics it was a little bit up and down, but I think we out rebounded them comfortably in most of the games. But it's mostly Kevon Looney, bro. Like
And Andrew Wiggins, give him credit.
yeah, oh yeah, of
And
course
Wiggins.
Wiggins. Of course.
I think
Wiggins
he
Respect on the
ended up.
Twitter.
I think
This is
Wiggins
looking
ended
like
up
Dennis
leading
Rodman and Moses Malone out there.
it was
through
it was
like the conference finals. Wiggins was like leading the NBA in offensive rebounds,
Looney and
which is
Wiggins
insanity.
what Looney and Wiggins did to elevate their play, uh, and not just offensively, right? Like they were in the right spots, they were making timely shots, position, all that, but also just the defense and the rebounding, like being able to end possessions so we could actually score, like that matters. Preventing second chance points and even offensive rebounds to give us second chance points. That what Wiggins and Looney did, that really was the key. Like we needed that extra burst and that extra help because with Looney, like and that's why I say I value Steph so much is because being able to play Kevon Looney and Draymond at the same time was a tall task at times, given the spacing. But because Looney provided so much value as a rebounder, that like it was he was phased out of the rotation at times because he didn't space it well enough. But Kerr was forced to put him in back in because he was just so elite at what he does, and he's just he is our big. Like if people think we need a big, like we never needed a big. Kevon Looney was always our big. Like if it wasn't Draymond at the five at the small ball five, it was Kevon Looney. Like this dude, I can't speak volumes enough because people don't understand Kevon Looney's story. Like he had two hip surgeries. I don't think people understand what a hip surgery is. Like there's your back, there's your hamstring, and then there's your hip. Like these are like some of the more major uh chain reaction kind of sensitive areas in your body that when you get hurt, like they're very difficult to come back from at a high level. He had two hip surgeries early in his career. Kavan was relatively injured throughout his career, up and down. In 2020, he had a surgery on his abdomen. He had like a muscle strain there.
Don't
Then
forget 2019 where Kawhi fucking
his
yeeted that
collarbone
nigga.
was
Exactly.
shattered, and then this
Bro,
year,
that nigga chest. Oh my god.
this year, Kevon Looney played all 82 games. Kevon Looney played all 82 games this year, and then in the
As
playoffs,
a 6'9" center.
as a
6'9"
six,
center. And
and
then he rose in the playoffs, y'all.
he rose. He was a pros pro. Like he was a pros pro, and what I mean by that is at times he was starting, at times he wasn't starting, at times he was in the rotation, sometimes he wasn't. He came off the bench, sometimes he was out of a series, phased in and out of lineups. Like and regardless of circumstance, he showed up and he excelled. And Andrew Wiggins, I can't speak enough about, because with him, people like to and they do this with Steph too, but with Wiggins, you can't reduce his value just to a shooting splits or to his efficiency. Like what Wiggins does on the floor, making three, like he didn't shoot the ball well in terms of the 3 point line against the Celtics, but
He had timely shots.
he did hit timely shots, but his value mostly came as a guy who could put pressure on the rim, put the ball on the floor, create every now and then, be a transition threat, and also defend at a high level. He defended their best player and also rebound. And he where even when the shot wasn't falling at times, he was still able to do all those little things that led to winning. And the narrative on Andrew Wiggins was always that he was not a winner. Low motor, couldn't defend at a high level, that he was bad shot selection. If you rebounding was a criticism of his earlier in his career, because he only averaged like 4 or 5 rebounds. He averaged twice that in the playoffs. Like,
And it's not just that, right? Like I think one of the crazy things, at least for me watching Wiggins this season, was one, in the regular season, I'd say he was an average rebounder, right? Maybe a little above average. In the playoffs, not only does he become the best rebounder at his position and maybe like one of the best offensive rebounders in all of basketball, regardless of position, I think he's in that conversation now. But the fact that look at all the rebounds, even defensive rebounds that he's getting, none of them are easy. Like there's guys who pick up easy rebounds. Kevon Looney and Andrew Wiggins don't pick up easy. They don't pick up easy rebounds. All of them are contested, and all of them are ones that require you to like throw your body in and really take wear and tear. And he did them. He did
yeah,
that all playoffs long. So did Kevon Looney, and they still managed to play heavy minutes and play great defense.
DRV, to your earlier point where you said the narrative was that the Warriors didn't have bigs, right? One of the wildest, and low, please include this in your video. I don't know where the clip is exactly, but you'll be able to find it. One of the wildest things I heard Stephen A. Smith ever say is that the Warriors weren't going to win because Wiseman was injured. Like, how stupid is that? Like, I've never heard anything more dumb in my whole life.
Splash, splash. There was the moment we went down a game in the NBA Finals. Niggas were pulling up the Wiseman dribbling
Yeah, people
workouts.
wanted our own fan base wanted Wiseman to come back. And we have reporters that wrote articles that Kuminga should be starting. Like
Mm,
three
I can't lie; those
reporters.
workouts look good though.
they do facts, facts.
Like, how is the national media gonna say that Wiseman, who was literally tanking our lineups last year, like he was the only reason we weren't a top four seed, him and Oubre. Like without him and Oubre last season, Steph had a plus 15 net rating. Last season, that is. Like, isn't that insane? And this dude thinks that James Wiseman is the difference between us winning and losing.
I haven't seen those clips. The ones I mean, obviously have like the iconic ones. You know, the fucking the Rob Parker yelling about the fucking dynasty being over. Let me see what he said. Steph Curry's a nice player. He's been very good.
I get it. But my goodness, they're not winning again without KD. That's the
You don't want to see us next year. It's probably
Right.
gonna be
I would
sickest line.
I
Yeah,
would
so
add like
I don't have that one, but I have like of
if
course
you want if you want an interesting clip for that, because the whole big narrative, like entering the season, people are like, oh, I guess they're not going to get any bigs. But then the first game against Phoenix, I think, is the one where DeAndre Ayton goes insane. I think he hit like over 80% of his shots in that game, and he was going crazy, hitting like jump hooks on Draymond. And that was the game where it really started because people were like, oh shit, we have nobody to deal with him now.
And the one game against the Knicks, I remember Julius Randle was kind of eating, and same with Mitchell
bro,
Robinson.
there was a game against the Jazz where Hassan Whiteside was
Oh
like,
my
Oh
God.
yeah,
do you
That
holy
remember that
Yeah,
shit.
game?
But see, but I don't because let me be clear about something. I think that length probably is a weakness, but I don't. Our length of size probably is a weakness. But who cares? Like I don't. I think we got too far in this realm of like every team needs to be this perfect fucking unit. It's the same thing why I push back on this idea like, oh, the Celtics they got to get a point guard, like or Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown can just get better. Like that can just be a thing. And part of the reason why the Warriors are so special in this past like 8 years is that they've been actually a model of you can have weaknesses, and sometimes those weaknesses are prevalent out of necessity. But like, as long as you're better, as long as you're good enough at everything else that you're doing, or as long as you're so great at the thing that you're good at that you're able to overcome it, it's not as going to be as big as a deal as you probably think. And that's been a constant thing throughout NBA history, even with the like LeBron Miami Heat. Like, they were a horrible rebounding team, and people were being critical of them back then. They were like literally one of the worst rebounding teams in the NBA, but they were so great at like everything else that it didn't fucking matter. So like the Warriors not having size, sure, that might be a problem, but like, nigga, y'all didn't have size when y'all were winning before because David Lee and Andrew Bogut constantly got hurt. And y'all still found ways to not only win a championship but win 73 fucking regular season games. So I don't understand like why it's a problem now. I just don't.
Low. That's what I'm saying. Because like our lineup, our death lineup was Draymond at center, right? So like it's just really strange that like actual basketball fans have watched the Warriors at their best be without a quote unquote big, but they still don't understand the concept of bigs not really being able to survive like switching defenses and
Well, I
like
mean,
late games.
I think that part of it though this season, and you talk about switching defenses. I feel like that's another thing where Kevon Looney isn't going to get enough credit for all these years, right? Being a guy who not only was just willing to switch, but is also he's a damn good switch big.
He used to
And
be a wing. Like he was
like,
known as
yeah,
the
no, I know.
next
Like
KD.
I
And
was gonna bring this up when we were talking about like Kevon Looney earlier. It's like look at his high school tape, and beyond just the injuries, he had to become a different player in college. Then he came into NBA and had to become a different player for the Warriors. And he's done all that. Not only that, like this year, the Warriors might not make it to where they are if Kevon Looney isn't, willing to switch out onto Luka Doncic and like, defend hard, right? Play well. And he defended as well as I think you could ask a big to defend Luka Doncic. And then we saw in this series, right, willing to take on like Jason Tatum on a switch, Jalen Brown on a switch, anybody who would like attempt to come after him, and that really deterred opposing offenses from like trying to do the conventional thing, which is like, oh, let's just get a ball screen onto the big and then get the switch we want. And with his ability to switch onto the perimeter and constantly just be a steadying force, that's so underrated and how they were able to, overcome some of the holes some people might have thought the roster had.
It's gonna sound crazy. I know it's gonna sound crazy, but Kavan and look,
better than Aiden. Aiden.
no. You can look at the numbers, and you can watch the film. He played better than Draymond these playoffs. He did.
Oh, I thought you were about to say
He was definitely better in the
Maybe.
finals.
Yeah, I would say.
Maybe against the Mavs.
I think he was better again in that Memphis series too.
That Memphis series was not only a very
Yeah.
bad series, but that was some of the best. That I think that might have been the best I've ever seen Kevon play.
I'm telling you, like it's
Mm-hmm.
Kevon Looney's
Well,
body
that Memphis series though,
yeah,
Kevon didn't actually start getting a lot of minutes until the
until
end. Like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
But you know what? It's not even just the defense; it's the playmaking. He's giving you 3 or 4 assists.
facts.
Like Looney is an underrated. He
Oh
can
yeah, he had some great passing games in that
connect
His
Memphis
his
series.
connected
connective passing is really
his
He
important.
might be
connected
one of
passing.
the best screeners, or he might be the best screener. I think
Unless you
He,
play the
possibly.
Celtics splash.
bro, he's so good, bro. Like I don't think people
True, true.
understand. And the switchable stuff has it's the genesis of that has been since James Harden in 2018 and Chris Paul when like he has that experience under his belt. So these come more natural to him against these other dudes. But like he's just a complete basketball player. He can dive to the rim. He can screen. He's cerebral. He can defend at a high level. He's a high level rebounder. He can pass. Like he does a lot of shit well. He really is really like very underrated. But you need good players to win. Like it's no team is it like just like the Cavs won in 2016. Part of them winning was Tristan Thompson's value. Tristan Thompson switched on to Steph. Tristan Thompson was incredible as a rebounder, as a diver and play finisher. Kevon Looney has been that for us this year and more. So like
Low.
we
Eli
got to
wants to
resign
get
him.
up.
We
He,
got to
he
resign him.
he's requesting with his burner. It's called Beam. His burner.
Come on.
Hey, yo, I'm about to what you call it, the space. because I'm trying to make sure I upload this video today. I just want to I just want to say this. I personally don't know why people get upset. I don't get it. And I say that back. Some of the things I do get because some of the stuff that some people said in there was pretty crazy, but I just don't think it's that crazy as a lot of people make it out to be. Um, and I personally don't give a fuck about niggas taking victory laps. I genuinely don't. Especially because I think it's worth it. I genuinely think that it's worth taking victory laps when y'all deserve it. But if y'all say some crazy shit on the timeline, then I will make fun of it. So yeah, there's that.
This is just beginning, legend. This is
Low.
just
People
beginning.
I
say
don't
Steph
care.
is top five. Like
I'm King Petty, so I don't give a fuck.
if you value peak on your list, like my list, I value only five. Like let's say I only value 5 year peaks, right? So I don't think saying Steph is crazy. If that is your criteria, if you are including longevity, then no, like Steph can't be in your top five. But if it is just the top five list based on peaks, I don't know why you. That's not crazy. That Steph has a top five peak ever.
No, I still think it's
If it's a
crazy.
top five peak,
Who would you
it's
have
I mean,
over?
barely a top five peak. Like,
Who would you
come on
have
now.
over?
yeah, like number five,
Peaks,
maybe number
yeah,
six.
it's
That's what
it's
I'm saying.
literally
What
there's
are we?
no argument for number four. Like it's
Over
straight number
Hakeem?
five at
Over
best.
Hakeem?
What,
You
what,
don't
what
think
was
there's
the
an argument?
number?
Kareem, Jordan, Shaq, LeBron. There's no argument over any of those players.
Kareem's peak
I
isn't
think he
even
might
better
have a
than
peak over
Hakeem,
Kareem
arguably.
James.
Peak over Kareem? Nah, bro, that's crazy.
Nah,
Hakeem
the nigga
peak,
was not
That's
winning at the
crazy,
highest
bro.
level, even in his at his highest. I
I
guess he was
think I
better
would take
defensive.
peak Hakeem over peak Kareem personally, and peak Shaq. I would
Wouldn't
take
that?
peak Shaq, LeBron, MJ, Hakeem, Steph is my top five. No
What's
order.
crazy? What's crazy is that damn near all
That's
those
crazy.
guys peak
No.
better than Curry.
That's
That's
crazy.
wild.
I think because what are you considering a top five peak for Curry? I mean, he's not top
Like a
five. Excuse me,
like a
his
5 year
5 year.
prime.
But what is his 5 year prime?
I
You
would
saying
say
from
from
2015?
15 to 21. If you want to include the 22 instead of the 20, that's probably what I would do. But if you want to do 3 year peaks, I would go from 15 to 17 or 16 to 18 because his 18 is pretty underrated.
So 15 to what?
For the
Two,
five
three,
year,
20,
4, 5.
20.
So 15 to 19?
for a 5 year, yeah, that would be a good. Or if you want to do 3 year, like it depends on. Most people do peaks as 3 year peaks, but I think like a
But I'm asking
prime would.
you, are you when you say top five? Because are you? It'll be even worse if we're sitting here saying you're miscellaneously picking like his 5 best seasons, regardless of the stretch if it's in a row or not.
Uh,
So are you saying
I mean,
his
if you
best
want to
five
do
years in a
5 years in
row?
a row, sure, then that'd be 15 to 19. I'm not saying I would personally do 3 year peaks, but like I'm saying, if a person has a certain criteria, they because not everyone's list is the same. Like everyone makes all these lists, but
I
they're
get that,
not even consistent.
but the point I'm making though is I think even as you say that, I still don't think that it's a top because like there's just players who have, especially if you're saying you get to just pick the 5 best years in a player's career. I just think that
No,
Jordan
even if you do
James,
5 in a row, like okay, just do 15 to 19. Like who would you have over
it's still it's
clearly
still
age?
it's still Jordan James, Shaq, Kareem, Hakeem, and I would even go as far as saying Duncan is before Curry, but in the top 5.
See, I'm not taking Duncan over the best, like arguably the best offensive player ever, but because like I
Duncan's
just
arguably the best
And Duncan
defensive
and
player
Duncan's
ever.
Yeah,
one of the best
like
defensive
what?
players
Like
ever. So.
Duncan's
I know,
defense.
I
Yeah,
agree.
like
I'm saying, okay, sure, you can make the argument, but I don't think it's crazy for someone to make an argument for Steph, for example, over Duncan, or even like because some people would take the offensive, like the better offensive player, just because most people value offense more. But if you want to say like overall like two-way value, sure, but I'm not. I'm saying it's not a crazy argument to make.
I kind of think it is, especially in the postseason where Duncan's numbers just all around just look noticeably better, like just a noticeably better player in the
Like his
postseason.
Yeah,
offensive
but
numbers.
I would need to
Yeah,
see
he's
Curry
when
put
he's in
together
the
a playoff run on the level of 2003 for me to.
It's not
definitively say he's
happening.
Yeah,
better than
If
That's
you
not happening.
when he's in a postseason, he goes from like a 23 point score to a 22 to 23 point score to a 25, I want to say 25, 26 point score. The offensive rebounds are still roughly around 3 or 4 a game, which is ridiculous. The assist numbers, I want to say they also go up as well. He has years in the
I know
postseason when he's averaging
he's a
like four or
riser,
five
yeah.
assists. Yeah, and then
But his scoring in his 3 year peak in the postseason is still not as efficient as Steph, and his playmaking isn't as good. So offensively, I don't think it's like
oh no, no,
a good day.
I'm not saying I clearly I think Curry is a better offensive player, but I think the gap between their offense and defense is just too wide, especially because Duncan is not only the engine for their offense, he was undeniably like he was their go-to scorer for their offense for like the first 10 years of his career,
fucking
and then
poster.
Low, a
and then
few of those years though, you could legitimately argue Manu was their best offensive player. Like a couple years in those.
Hmm?
but it would
No,
even
What? What are we
even
no,
doing?
even
no.
even even if I were to lower the bar and said maybe you're right, it's literally a couple. It's literally like one or two. So it's not enough to go away from it. And
Oh,
in that
Blow, don't even
and
entertain
also
that
that wouldn't I don't need I would still need to see what years you're talking about because I wouldn't even say that to be the case. Especially because between you were basically I'm saying between 98 to 2007. I don't know what years you're
I
referring
think
to.
like
oh
literally,
seven
literally
Manu had a really insane run.
when
Oh
Manu
seven, I think.
when Manu and TP really started taking control of the offense, bro, that was when like it was essentially like, okay, we're not gonna give Duncan like the amount of post touches that we gave him to create like in the high and low post. We're gonna
Yeah,
use you
because
mainly
it was
like
less
we're gonna
efficient.
we're gonna use you mainly as like a role man. Because I mean, he was getting older. He peaked really early in his
Yeah,
career. He
yeah, yeah.
walked in as a top 10 player. So of course, when he gets into his early 30s, I'm expecting a decline. And then on top of that, like they wanted them to be the guys, and what happened? They didn't win a championship for like a decade, damn near. So
How
actually, was it a decade? Yeah, it was
Six, I
damn
mean,
near.
you
6, 7 years.
Yeah,
this is
six,
just a
7 years.
question. This is just a question to Low or whoever.
By the way,
Do you,
03, that backpacking job was insane. Just want to throw that out
do,
there.
you- do you view
Smoke
the
Kobe
offense
and Shaq Lakers.
do you view the offense defense like combination as 50-50, or is it 70-30, or like maybe not a number to it, but like how do you weigh them closely or value them the same, or
It just
you know what I'm
I
saying?
depends.
I
if it
I
it, it for I just take how I feel about the player like in general. I don't have like built-in percentages
No, that's not what
for
yeah,
it.
I know. I'm
Like
saying
it
like
could be 50-50, it could be 60-40,
yeah.
but it's
I'm not
damn sure
saying
not
built
no
in. I'm not
70-30.
saying built
That's
in
crazy.
percentages. I'm more so saying like how do you gauge the value of it is what I'm saying.
I think
it depends
offense.
on it for me it depends on what is the makeup of the team. So like Nash is a horrible defender, but the value that he provided to the roster obviously was on the offensive end, which is why their offense was that like high. So even though he was a massive negative defensively, or some people may be upset because I said that, but just because he was a negative on the defensive end might not have mattered as much because the value that he was providing was on the offensive end, and offensively they were like one of the best offenses of all time. So like he can make up for that, but like for so in terms of Duncan, the makeup of those rosters in the early 2000s were defense. Like they were very clear defensive oriented teams, and Duncan was anchoring like quite literally some of the best defensive units in the past 30 40 years. And granted, David Robinson was there, so I don't want to make it seem like he was doing it by himself. But like routinely, the Spurs were like one of the top three, a lot of times the number one ranked defense several times, and that's a large part to do with the what's my man name, Tim Duncan. And furthermore, like they have like literally all time great defensive units. '04 is like literally one of the greatest defensive teams in NBA history, and like that's all that stuff is being anchored just simply because of Duncan. And then if you're doing that while also on the other side of the floor having to be the first option as well, that's where like it's kind of hard for me to overlook like the value that you're providing to a team because that two-way impact is just too overwhelming for me to like not to take that into consideration. Even if the other person is like the even if I were to gas Curry to the best offensive player of all time, it's hard for me to acknowledge that Duncan was anchoring some of the best defensive teams we've seen while also being a 24 to 25 point scorer routinely in the regular season and postseason.
Look, that's a perfectly good argument, but like the reason I'm saying there is an argument for Steph is that I personally value defense. Like obviously defense, individual defense is super valuable, but I just think defense is so much more team related than one individual, right? An individual offensive generational player can carry an offense to respectable heights, but it's very rare that like and that's why you could say Tim Duncan is so valuable because he's a rim protector, right? But unless you're a rim protector, you can't really like single-handedly carry a defense. And that's fine that you're saying Duncan did, but I'm just saying like with some other players where when people bring defense up, like perimeter players, it's like their defensive value wasn't as much as they think.
LeBron was in a
But
rim
Tim
protector.
Duncan's not a perimeter
I know.
player.
Yeah, I would say, but as we speak on Tim Duncan, he would be applicable to the con. And I understand what you're saying, like people gassing perimeter defenders, and that's understandable. But Tim Duncan is certainly applicable to the rim protector that was anchoring one of the best defenses over the past 30 years and was also the first option on a team that desperately needed some type of offensive flow. Like in 2002, like they were a top 10 offense, and Tim Duncan was like legitimately the only scoring threat on that roster, and they were still a top 10 offense. So like shit like that, like I can't. It's hard for me to take away like Duncan's impact. And again, y'all go about gravity. Duncan having a stretch where he's averaging like 3 or 4 offensive rebounds is also like very, very impressive. So all
You
that
saw
stuff
them getting,
like
them getting double
kind of
teamed in the
hard.
post.
Say it again.
I said those games and around the 2003 mark where Duncan was single handedly carrying that offense, getting triple teamed in the post, having to pass out to Bruce Bowen with fucking open threes. Like, I think he adds too much on both ends of the floor for us to just like say,
Yeah,
he
it's too
clears
much.
him and then it's end of discussion.
Especially if we're closing it to a 3 to 5 year window. It's just too much that he's providing. It's just way too much. It's way too much that he's providing for a team. And so, like, yeah, but it's in short, to answer the question about offense defense, it's really just the makeup of your team and how much individual value you bringing to that team. So Nash, again, horrible defender, but he's like the engine to the offense, the only consistent like shot creator, playmaker that they had. So even though he is horrible offensively, because their makeup of that team is offense, and because he was the engine for it, I can understand tipping the scale to be more offensively favored. But in terms of Duncan, like it was a defensive oriented team which he led, and then basically everything offensively damn near went through him within the 3 to 5 year window that we're trying to finite it to. It's just hard for me not to say that
So
Duncan.
low, would you have Duncan over Magic peak wise? Like just peak
Yeah,
wise.
I just like the 5 to 6 peaks I just said. Duncan would be over it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have, but
Yeah, plus,
I have Duncan as a top 5 player all time. So I don't really think that I
No, I
don't
think
put.
that's perfectly fine. But I'm just like saying there are, in my opinion, valid arguments for Steph to be within that top seven peak. Like you can
Oh,
you can easily.
if you bump it down to 7 and in
No,
front of
he's
beginning, I don't know
I
if you
mean,
were here.
I personally think top five is fine too. But like if you wanna, if you're low on, I mean, some people are just low on certain players, right? So you could go like, yeah, like not to bring up Ben Taylor, but his range for him was 4 to 7. So that's why I'm saying like
Yeah,
even if you are
but that was
lower,
a
you could
one
go
I,
lower.
but that was a
No,
one
no,
year
that was
peak.
3 year peak, 3 year
He
peak.
not
Which
Oh
overdoing
wait,
that. He not overdoing that.
that was 15 to 17.
yes, he is.
No,
yeah,
bro,
he
Yeah,
switched
yeah,
the
yeah.
bro,
range up a
respect
little bit.
respect
Yes,
KG, bro. 02 to 04 KG,
nobody
really
nobody's
that.
disrespecting KG to say that Steph's peak is better than KG's
Nah,
peak.
nah, bro.
Like
I'm talking.
like we were arguing. There was a time where we were arguing Steph's peak over like LeBron at a time.
LeBron, no, bro,
Like
those
Steph's
people
peak was
crazy.
crazy.
Those people crazy. Like
But it was an argument regardless.
it was
Like
not.
Steph
It
has a
shouldn't have been an argument.
higher.
There's
It
no
shouldn't have
argument,
been.
bro.
Steph,
There's no
Steph, is it fair to say that Steph might have 2 3 year stretches, 15 to 17, and then 20 or 21 to 23 if next year he has another MVP caliber year and then he has a really far run in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Is that
those
fair?
are two all-time
Nah,
peaks
22
in my
don't move
opinion.
me like that.
Not the
17,
20,
17,
not the
19 Curry
21.
over, 15,
How does
17 over.
22 not
22
move
not
you?
really
Did
like
you
that.
not just see what he did?
No,
It's
because
it's
the
like compared
playoffs,
to
right?
Steph years, it's mid. It's mid.
We're
Only
not
his
gonna
regular
act like
season.
Yeah, but you
Like
could argue that 21 was a
no,
piece in
21
the
was
regular.
fire. No, but 22 brings it down. But 17, 18, 19, that's some mid shit. Like that was just Steph going crazy the whole time.
Like
The,
statistically, nothing's gonna beat his 15 to 17 peak, but he is putting it together another like pretty good
I don't
3-year
know,
peak.
man. Like, cause the thing about 2017 that I feel like people forget is that it's just like 2016. It's just Kevin Durant was on the team, so it didn't make it look like 2016 because Kevin
He
Durant's
should
on
have
the team.
arguably won MVP that
But
year.
you could
But he
Still,
argue.
played just as good. He played just as good.
All right, Manny, what's up?
Yo, what up, man? I came actually because Legend. I have a question for you. Where do you have LeBron all time?
I have him second.
Okay, and where do
Should
you
be
have Steph
one.
Curry?
I have him like 7 or 8.
Okay, so
Hmm?
how do you have a man higher than a man that beat him 3 times to one?
Jesus
Because
Christ.
I'm not. Because I'm
Hey,
Wait,
not.
let
Bro,
so
this is elementary school.
Wait.
let
Arguing
him
hey,
for
speak.
so
Let him
Because I'm
speak.
not.
Do you know?
Because
hey, I
I'm
got
not. Because I'm not dumb. That's why.
Wait, so do you know how
you got
numbers work?
Joe Dumars over Michael
So
Jordan.
wait, is
Wait, wait,
Kawhi is
wait. Let me.
Kawhi over
Can I
Steph all
speak to
time? I'm
Legend?
fine with
Can I
that
speak to
agenda.
Legend? Hold up.
He's
So
not a
Legend.
legend.
No, I'm talking to
What?
the dude's name is Legend of Winning, bro. I'm like, what? What do you want me
You
to
go by
address him as?
Marcel?
Okay.
Call him Mark. Let me chill out. Let me chill out.
Chill out, Jesus Christ.